this is the closest you're going to get to an actual lecture in Source 118, but I'm going to do it in about 10 minutes. You may be a person who takes a creationist perspective to human beings, human groups, and human bodies, okay? Which is fine. I mean, I don't know, who am I to tell you what to believe? In science, in the world of science, mostly, although there's actually a really interesting movement, especially in Christianity, but also in Islam, of people making the argument for creationism, trying to pick out the ways in which creationism is actually rooted in science. They're trying to find all the scientific roots of to make an argument for creationism. In the world of science, we have this idea. It's not an idea, it's a theory, but it's a theory based in a lot of evidence, and evidence that we've been collecting for many, many years, and it's a pretty airtight way of seeing the world, which is fine. You know, if you have a creationist perspective, that's great, good for you. But you may want to explore evolution. It's not something, we didn't just make this stuff up, you know what I mean? Like, it's rooted deeply in the world of science and data and so on. But I will say, I just got from a fan, someone who watches the class, a fan, I don't like saying that, but I just got this box of books on Christianity, including a bunch of books some books that are making the argument for a creationist model and a scientific framework for understanding creationism. And for me, that's awesome because, well, whatever. I just like the fact that someone sees me, even though I'm an evolutionary thinker, sees me as open-minded enough that I would really be interested in reading the books because I don't know what truth is, you know? So in any case, all right. But the idea is that human beings, we trace our roots to Africa and the Nilotic region of Africa. So you can see that the part where we start emerging out of Africa and we leave Africa. And, you know, first off, people traveled around Africa, but the idea is people start moving and they go different places. And as we go to different areas of the world, the planet, our bodies encounter different environments, different climates. And so as people went around, moved around, traveled around the planet, because we migrated, our bodies encountered different environments. And as we encountered these different environments, our bodies adapt to those environments. So it's really warm, or it's really cold, or it's very dry, or it's very humid. And we have all sorts of parts of our bodies. We have our hair, we have our eyes, our noses, our lips, our ears, how tall we are, how short we are, how wide we are, how thin we are. But it's so many, the color of our skin, the shape of our noses, so many different parts of the human body adapts changes according to how well it fits a certain environment. And then the bodies change. So there are these, genetic mutations that happen that maybe people with a certain skin color are more adapted to certain environments. And so people who have that skin pigmentation or skin color, they thrive, and all their genetic admixture, it gets passed on very easily. And so we see lots of people who have those genetic markers, and then they, thrive in that particular region, and then some of them move out of the region, they go to a different region, and their bodies have to kind of adapt to the new region. And we find out that, hey, skin that's lighter in tone is better, it's more adaptive for this other colder region. And so then we start to see that people with lighter skin tones really thrive in this area, or people with straight hair, or people with tightly curled or kinked hair. And we talk about kinky hair, mostly what we see when somebody has, somebody of sub-Saharan African ancestry has it's curled. And if you look at it under a microscope, for most people, it's really tight curls. But sometimes it's more kinked. And the idea being that, it's that they lock around one another, right? So it stands up. And so there are reasons for that. There are reasons why hair straightens out. There are all sorts of things that are happening to the human bodies over history. So when you see those lines, if you watch our videos in Social 118, you know that I'm trying not to impose my own belief system onto students. That what we're trying to do in this classroom, in this space right here, is to give students opportunities to think on their own terms and to understand the ways in which ideas and thoughts that come at them are often slanted in one direction or another. Our sponsor this semester, our very first sponsor, is Ground News. It's the perfect sponsor for this class, and I'm really happy to endorse them, and I'm happy to get behind them. If you subscribe for Ground News using the code in the description, the link in the description, you get 40% off the Vantage plan. That's the plan that we use in here. And I can't say enough how important this is and how valuable it is to have a better understanding of the ways in which news is coming at you and the ideological perspectives that people are taking who are sharing the news. So sign up for Ground News. It's awesome. I hope all of my students sign up for Ground News, actually. There are all sorts of things that are happening to the human bodies over history. So when you see those lines and you see this is the pattern of human migration, these bodies are adapting in different ways. Okay? And one way of being isn't better than another, right? So, Malachi, can you stand up real fast? So if you look at Malachi and I, you see these two people who are really different. I see a person here who has ancestors who lived for long periods of time in one area of the planet. And I look at a mirror and I see me and I see, this is a person with ancestors who lived in a different area. If his ancestors lived where my ancestors lived because of his dark pigmentation, this would be a problem. But if my ancestors lived where his ancestors lived, if they had light skin color and they were in sub-Saharan Africa, that would be a problem for them, man. Because your skin pigmentation is protecting you from all the ultraviolet rays of the sun. And my skin pigmentation is protecting me because it's bringing in as much sunlight and as much of those ultraviolet rays and allowing me to produce calcium and vitamin D and so on and so forth, right? Have you talked about this in your science classes in high school and all?
I mean, a little bit.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, I think about it sometimes.
Do you think, for example, you know what, in wintertime, it's really gray here. I need to make sure I get as much sun as possible to be really healthy?
For me?
Yeah. Do you think about
particularly
that?
Not really.
You should. No, this is a thing, right? So you see a gazillion, Emily, how many commercials, how many warnings have you seen to wear sunscreen, protect yourself from the sun? How many warnings do you see of listen, man, in the middle of summer, you're really darkly pigmented. You need to get as much sun as you possibly can because that's important for your health. Do you ever see that?
Not that many.
Okay, well, you heard it from me.
I've heard it. Yeah, I've heard it. But
okay, all right, cool.
I don't see it too often.
All right, well, this is a thing, right? So you see, it's one isn't better than the other. It doesn't matter. Malachi, his ancestors were in one area, my ancestors were in another area. It's all good. What we're going to do today is you got to empty your minds of a lot of these ideas that some bodies and some features are better than others, because that's not where we're at here. That's not how I see the world. It's not what matters. Here's an example of skin pigmentation. This was done actually by two friends of mine. So you can see the red line is the equator, and notice how closer to the equator, the people who have been living closer to the equator have more darkly pigmented skin because there's natural protectorants from the ultraviolet rays of the sun. But as you move away from the equator, either north or south, you see how skin lightens, and the skin is adapting to its environment. So that's a good thing. You see that, right? It just kind of makes sense. All right, so when you see different skin pigmentations, it tells you something about the ancestors of the person you're looking at. So why are there so many differences in these biogeographical groups? So if you get on an airplane and you go, you show up in Beijing, you kind of have an idea what people are going to look like, right?
Yeah, to a point.
And then you show up, you get on an airplane, and you show up in Oaxaca, Mexico. You kind of have an idea of who you're going to see.
Yeah.
And if you go to Nairobi, Kenya, you have an idea of who you're going to see, right? And you're not going to be confused. You're not going to go to Nairobi and think you're in Beijing.
No.
And you're not going to go to Beijing and think you're in Oaxaca, right? But you might go to Beijing and think you're in Seoul, but you're not the other. And you're not going to go to Beijing and think you might be in Rome. You show up and you see people. There are general features that are classic features of particular groups. Now, we're moving around all the time, and we're intermarrying and creating lots of children from different group places in the world. Like many of you are quite mixed. And so we have that, but mostly when you show up in areas, you kind of know where you are. And sometimes here's the thing. Have you ever traveled Europe?
No, I haven't.
When I show up in Europe, I know when I'm in Germany, I know when I'm in Italy, I know when I'm in southern Italy, I know when I'm in Ireland. I go to Ireland, I'm like, you could just blindfold me, take me to Ireland, take me off the airplane, and set me loose in Dublin, and be like, hey, where are you? And I'll be like, I'm in Ireland, man. And like, you, Malachi, you may not, unless you grew up around a lot of white people and Irish people. Have you grew up around a lot of white people? Do you know an Irish person when you see an Irish person? You don't think so? Yeah, right. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Like, the Irish? Like, you got it, right? You got it? You just know. So you get up, you see the Irish person, and you're like, okay, I'm in Ireland. And then you take me to Munich in Germany, and I'm like, oh, damn, I'm in Germany. Now, I might think I'm in Austria, but I'm going to be like, I got this. Because there are all these differences in people, okay? So that's the first thing. You got these biogeographical groups of people. So there are two things. One is selection. Why are we different? Why do we have differences in these groups? Because nature is selecting for certain features in people's bodies. And that's important. Also, just mutations. Mutations happen. Like, I got this notch in my ear, and lots of people in my family have this notch in my ear, but I don't ever see it with other people. But it's a mutation. It's not a bad mutation. It's not a good mutation. It's just a mutation. Somebody developed a notch. There was a genetic mutation that's boom. And then now I got the notch. And lots of people on my one side of my family have it. But, it doesn't mean like everybody would have it, right? Okay? And some mutations just become long-standing parts of various populations. And also by chance. We're different just because of chance. Things just happen, man. Okay? Hey, when you see this image, what do you see?
Evolution. What is typically associated with evolution?
Yeah, like you'd see these images of like evolution. Yeah, what do you see when you see that image?
Which one?
Yeah,
the whole image?
Does anything stand out for you?
Not necessarily.
Can you see which one's the least evolved and the most evolved?
Oh, yeah.
Does anything stand out about that?
Typically, we're taught that humans derived from primates. So the first one of the less evolved is a primate.
Yep.
Or a picture of what a primate supposedly looked like.
Yep. And so the most evolved one is a human.
Yeah.
And who's here? Hang on. Malachi, come back, man. Malachi and Sam are humans. Who's he look like?
Closer to Sam.
Yeah, so these are the stories. Sorry, bro, but they're always making these with the white guy, and this is the most evolved. Dude, even though clearly, look at you, man. Your shoes and stuff, you got this down. All right, thanks again, man. We're always doing, these are the stories we tell. And so oftentimes, like, you don't even see it, right? You don't notice it. It's just part of it. And these are stories. The people who win, the people who are the ones who get to tell the stories. And of course, we're not going to put Malachi up there. Like, you're going to put somebody like me. Well, I'm not that handsome, but you get the whole thing, right? And that's how we roll. And these are the stories. And what I want you to do is, don't do that. Don't tell that story. That's not how evolution works. It doesn't happen in that way. It's a very complex mix of things coming together. And it is these kinds of stories that keep us from talking about and noticing our differences. And in this class, right now, the next 2 days, today and next week, we're going to notice differences and we're going to talk about differences just like I did with Malachi. Are we cool? So I'm going to teach you that it's okay. Because have you learned, are you like kind of a typical white American? Like, you're like, if you talk about, oh yeah, this guy in my class, Malachi, you can't say this black guy in my class. Because the moment you say black, you see color. And if you see color, you're racist kind of stuff. Does that sound familiar to you at all?
I mean, I think my family's a little more accepting.
No, but just people in general, right?
Oh, yeah.
As a white person, have you, did you get those lessons? Like, hey man, you can't, don't notice race. It's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice you were black, man. Like, oh my God. You believe that? Oh, look, turns out he's black. Like, it's absurd. I didn't notice, you're around someone in a wheelchair, and they're like wheeling around and so on. And then you're like, oh.
I didn't notice your wheelchair.
Oh, yeah, it's just this thing that's with me all the time, man. Yeah, it's really cool. It's really non-ableist of you. It's really wonderful that you're a human being who's non-ableist, that you don't even notice my wheelchair. Like, how awesome. You're such a good person. Like, oh my God. And you don't even notice that Malachi is black. Well, what I'm telling you is start noticing these things, man. You got it? Like when you see Malachi, like I look at you and he pulled his hat off and I'm like, oh, that dude's got like 4B hair, 4C hair. And I'm like, do you know what that means?
Yeah, it's the texture of hair.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay. So it's like you can notice stuff like that, right? You notice all sorts of things. It's good. It's good because it makes things interesting. It doesn't mean, it's not about you're not racist, but what you do is the better you get at sort of deciphering things and seeing things, the more interesting conversations you can have and more you can know about people. Oh yeah, oh hey, by the way, this is me. This is my biogeographical ancestry. You can look at me like I'm English and Irish and Western Europe. I got like 10% from that area of the Netherlands. And what that means, the way we do this is that we identify markers that only exist in certain areas of the world. And so we know if you have these markers, then we know you have ancestors from those particular regions. And that's how we're able to say that. And like we can go back in time to have a sense of when your ancestors lived in these regions. So for me, I have ancestors in these regions, including 2% from sub-Saharan Africa. Look at that, man, from West Africa. I've been trying to look to see where that came in because it's really fascinating. And that first showed up about 12 years ago, and it won't go away. At first we thought it was just a sampling error, but now it's there. So it's like, wow, where'd that come from, man?